Okay, today I'm showing you how to install Ubuntu Server on a virtual machine using VirtualBox. So to start out, you want to go to Ubuntu's homepage and then go to their downloads and download Ubuntu Server. The newest version is 12.10, which is very common. But anyway, you just click that link, it'll download it, put it wherever you want. You can burn the image to a disk, or you can use a virtual drive to mount the image and use it for a virtual machine. Now I'm mounting the image here using Daemon Tools. See, it takes a second to mount. There, now it's mounted, so I can close that and then go to VirtualBox. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this virtual machine that I made to install Ubuntu Server on. Okay, and you can see that it already booted from the disk there. So we want to pick English and select Install Ubuntu Server. You can install multiple server installs with that selection, but for now we'll just install Ubuntu Server. Okay, and we still want to use English. We're in the United States. It's going to ask if you want to detect the keyboard layout. I'm going to select no because I know my keyboard layout. And then you just wait a minute for it to start up the installation. Generally, the installation for Ubuntu Server takes 15 to 30 minutes. Just kind of depends on how fast your computer is. Okay, now it's going to ask me to create a host name for my server. I'm going to leave it the default. Ubuntu is good enough for me. Then it wants the user's full name. You can really kind of put whatever you want here. Like me, I'm using a pseudonym. And it's going to ask for a username to use as a user account, so it'll automatically use the first name of the person who installed the operating system, but you can make this username whatever you want. Except that it needs to be lowercase. There we go. Now you can select a password for it, and I recommend making it a difficult password but one that you'll remember. So here we go. And then it's going to ask if you want to encrypt the home directory. I'm going to tell it no for this installation because I don't really need that. Okay. It's going to ask you if the time zone is correct. For me, it selected the correct one automatically, but if it doesn't, you can select no, and then it'll take you to a menu that asks you which time zone is yours. For me, I'm going to hit yes. Okay, now it's going to ask how we want to partition the hard drive. Best way on this, if you ask me, is just to use the entire disk through the guided method. You can also set it up so that it's encrypted using LVM. But I'm just going to leave it unencrypted, and then it's going to ask you which drive you want to use, and that's the drive. And then it's going to ask if you want to write the changes to the disk, and I want to select yes. Now it'll take a couple of minutes to do the installation. Now during installation, you'll notice that there are some windows that pop up similar to this one asking you for configuration information. This is asking if I need a proxy for the server, which for this one I do not, so you want to leave it blank if you don't use one. And then you just hit enter and continue the installation. Okay, during the installation you're going to notice it also asks how you would like to set up updates. Now, Ubuntu has a system called Landscape that you can use to automatically install updates that are specific to your needs. But for this installation, I'm just going to tell it to install security updates, and that's it. And then you have to wait for it to continue installing. Now it's going to ask you if you would, or what services you'd like installed on your server. So to select these, you hit the space bar. To deselect them, you just hit it again. But you can select whichever ones you want for the installation, depending on what type of server you're setting up. For me, I'm actually not going to select any of those because you can go back and install them later at any time. And it'll make the installation a little bit quicker if you don't install anything until you know what you need. Okay, once the installation finishes, it's going to ask you if you'd like to install the Grub bootloader, which basically that's the system that tells your computer how to start up the operating system, or which operating system to start from. If you have multiple operating systems, this can be a very useful tool. If you don't, I recommend using it anyway because it's still faster. But I'm going to select yes, go ahead and install that, and then it's going to install and set up the rest of the installation. And you see at the end of the installation it lets you know that it's complete and it's time to boot to your new system. So you want to go and you want to remove the disk that you have from your drive, or unmount it, dismount it if it's a mounted image, and then go back to your installation and tell it to continue. Because I didn't install that much on this one, you're going to see that it's going to come up as a console-based operating system. So you'll see it's starting up right now. And now it's asking me for my login credentials, which for this one are owner, and I'm not going to say my password, but owner and password. And you'll see it now has allowed me into Ubuntu, and you can see that Ubuntu is running normally. It shows you your IP address, the processes that you currently have running, how many of them there are, the memory usage, system load, how many users you have logged in, and so on and so forth. So this is the running operating system of Ubuntu Server, which is a very simple operating system. You can download and install extra packages if you wanted a graphic user interface or a GUI. You could install KDE or GNOME on here, and both will work with Ubuntu. But that's basically it for the installation. Thank you for watching this video, and be sure to post nice comments. Thanks.